You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advice, rr@gmail.com. Let's see. What do we got here? I feel like, all right, we'll do this one. The cushion incident. Need your help settling a dispute with my wife about what we're now calling the cushion incident. Last week, we had a few friends over for some drinks and dinner, 6 people, not including us. So we're talking 8, folks, keeping up with the math. It was a great night. Everyone had fun. That was that, or so we thought. The next morning, I noticed a small red stain on the carpet in our living room. A small red stain on the carpet, right beneath one of our cushioned chairs. Upon investigation, I uncovered a huge wet red stain on the cushion of our light-colored chair. The wine had soaked through the chair and onto the carpet. All right, so we're talking like, imagine an elevator of stain on cushion level going all the way to carpet level. So that's like, that's a heavy pour on that chair. Okay, so many thoughts immediately ran through my mind. Let me summarize some facts. This is like Knives Out, the movie. None of our guests were ever alone in the room. There were 2 brief times where neither my wife or I were in the living room. During those few minutes, there were at least 4 or 5 people in the room at all times. All right, so there's never a solo moment for anyone at the party. Our friend, I'm going to have to change the name just in case. Our friend Veronica was sitting in the chair most of the evening, but her husband, Philippe, also sat there at times. All right, so Veronica and Philippe went, occupied the chair a combined 100% of the time based on the evidence we have here. We were all drinking red wine, so you can't be like, oh, slow gin fizz guy at it again. I'm pretty confident Veronica spilled the wine, but that doesn't bother me as much as the 6-person conspiracy to cover it up. Did they not think we'd notice? Did nobody think to grab a napkin before they all decided, yeah, let's flip the soaking wet cushion and pretend it didn't happen? We could have saved the carpet, Ryan. I've asked all of our friends about it, but everyone says they didn't see anything or acts fake surprised about the whole thing. I like that our guy knows that it's fake surprised. Add that to our notes, Kyle. My wife is starting to doubt the stain happened on that night or somehow it happened without anyone noticing. She wants us to just forget about it, eat the cost, and move on. Nope. I'm not having this shit, Ryan. All of these motherfuckers spilled some wine. Or, excuse me, one of these motherfuckers spilled some wine. I need closure. So my plan is to invite the same group over for another party, flipping the cushion back over so the stain is on full display. All right, so there's a cushion on the chair. He's going to put that stain side up, and then we'll see what happens. I figure if I get everyone in a room and address it together, somebody's going to crack. My wife is very against this plan. She thinks it'll be super awkward, yes, and needlessly confrontational, perhaps. I disagree. I just don't see how we can brush this under the rug. I didn't even think he meant to be funny there, without at least confronting our friends about lying to our faces and ruining our stuff. True friends wouldn't act this way. Should I let this go? What would you do in my shoes? All right. Lot to deal with here. Okay. So I want to just double check one of our cushioned chairs. Because the first time I read that, I thought, like, I have some of those chairs that are cushioned, but they're upholstered. So, and then I have slips over them. And I got to make sure, if you're a solo guy like me and you're always at one chair, rotate the chairs, folks. Just keep them rotate. When it's just you all the time, you have to learn to rotate your chairs and also your couch cushions. Keep those in rotation, because I didn't do that. And after 5 years, I had 2 brand new sides of the sectional and the chase. And then there was one part where you would have thought somebody slept on it outside for a decade. All right. And I had to get it custom made, and that sucked. Don't know why I shared any of that. I like where your head's at here, but there's one thing that you have to handle first. If you're going to do this version of Clue at your house with the same group, where it's not about the party, it's a complete setup to get to the truth here, which is weird. Your wife is right about that part, but I'm not against it. You have to be 100% certain that it happened that night. And this email doesn't get me to 100%. There's a little doubt here. I have a little doubt because the quote here, my wife is starting to doubt that the stain happened on that night, or somehow it happened without anyone noticing. All right. You seem to be 100% certain. She's not 100% certain. So we don't add up to 100% average uncertainty here. Because if you do this and it didn't happen at that night with the same 6 people that you invite back and you turn into a psycho, that's going to be irreparable for you, my man. This crew is never going to look at you the same way. Because if they actually didn't do it and this whole setup is to get to the truth and they're actually innocent and you don't seem to believe that, then you're going to deal with some serious damage post this investigation. Now, if you're going to do this, I would start here. I would not have the cushion on display initially. I would start with drinks. Maybe pick the pace up a little bit earlier than you normally would for a pre-dinner setup. Get drinks in people. Then, during the kind of kitchen island area that I'm imagining in your open floor concept, you then flip the cushion and then have all the chairs out as you say, hey, the small plates are being served. So now it's out there. Because if you go right to the cushion reveal, it's too early. People aren't going to be as pliable on some of their commentary because they haven't had any drinks. So I would get drinks in them. I would flip the cushion in a moment away from everyone, have the chairs out, and then you have to read 6 faces at once, specifically the face of the person that has the dirty cushion. And you're going to have to be like a poker player at the table. And then if you don't get a read that you want, you may have to let it go. I would let them initiate it. I would let them expose themselves. But if no one exposes themselves in this moment, then I think you have to just look at your wife and know you're pulling the plug on the plan. Because this is like a Costanza deal. If you set this all up and you start right from the jump accusing people and nobody's had any drinks, and what if they're incident, then a lot of these people aren't going to like you, and they're going to talk about you, man, for years. They're going to say, remember when fill in the blank here invited us all over for a second dinner to try to get to the bottom of his stupid fucking cushion being stained? And it sucks about the carpet. I get that part sucks. But what would you do here, Kyle? Not have a carpet?
I mean, no, I'm a carpet guy now, but I think this is kind of fun in a weird way and an infuriating way. But my question is, if people are eating dinner, how do you spill on the cushion if you're sitting on it? Like, wouldn't it like a person be basically covered in wine at that point? Or would it be another time where maybe not everyone was sitting in chairs and somebody like knocked it over the table? Because if people are eating dinner sitting down, how do you get out of there unscathed and then just hide this wine thing? Like, wouldn't it be all over you as well, unless you're like standing pouring wine or something? It's just like, it doesn't seem like, did you have any of your shithead buddies over that maybe nobody was sitting in that chair and there was like, you were using the table as like a bar or something? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like you'd be able to, like, if everyone's at a table, it just doesn't seem like the forensics of it adds up.
Yeah, I would. It's fair. All this is fair. But would you agree that you've had moments drinking where something happened that defied physics?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, right? Like it could have been some weird, grabbing something from the salad tongs and then the person hits the glass and it like lands perfectly in between, some skinny jeans. And
then you get up at the same time. It just seems like it would have to be perfect. Right. So I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I would just ask yourself, did you have any of your buddies over or something at a different time for like a Sunday game or something? I don't know.
Yeah. When he says he called everyone to ask about it, because I don't think it's the cost here. I'm not getting a sense here that the guy's super mad about having to replace the carpet. He's mad that he may have been lied to.
Clearly a principle thing. Yeah.
All right. Because there's also another part of this. This is going to be the only one we do here. But what if they all don't like you and they don't care they stained your fucking carpet?
Then do the intervention. What's worse for the friend? Like, what's a friendship bomb or more detrimental? You falsely accusing them of doing this, or them just straight up lying to your face and not telling you about it? Because they're both shitty moves, but one or the other has to kind of be true, unless the wife is lying. Which, because this guy clearly thinks that it didn't happen. Well, I'm just saying this guy clearly thinks that it happened that night, and the wife is having some doubts. So there is, she could potentially be a suspect if we're talking real knives out here. You never know. But it's either they lied to you and they're shitty friends, or you're falsely accusing them and you're the shitty friend. There's no win here.
You know what else we need to discuss too? And this sucks, but because everybody's going to know exactly what I'm talking about here. Would you guys both agree that there are different levels of friends where there's a friend you'd be like, I'm not saying anything. And then there's a friend that you go, I have to say something.
Yes.
And it doesn't even apply necessarily even to a carpet here.
Yep.
There are guys that you've done something where you may have I'll just call myself out here. I remember one time we were staying with some guys, and actually I don't need to give you more details than that. But your boy ripped out a towel rod of a bathroom, and it wasn't like a plan. It just happened. And my buddy opened the door because he was ready to use the bathroom, and he was like, "What the fuck?" I go, "Dude, my bad." Like, I reached out, and we got some sheetrock hanging out on the floor, and you just knew in that moment it was like, I'm not going to say anything because there's somebody else that could be blamed. And it wasn't even that I just knew that this person was going to already have like somebody over there with an estimate, and he was going to want me to tape it. And, it was just going to be a huge, huge hassle. And it was going to ruin like the rest of the day. I regret it now. I would never do anything like that now. But there's a different level of friend where I immediately would have walked out with the towel rod and gone, "Hey, my bad. This came out of the wall. I'm a big dumb animal." And
was this college?
It's 2 years. I think it's a couple years after college. I think it was we're still talking the 90s here. So, I mean,
because there's a grace period there where I think when you're young, where it's expected that you have broken shit in your house.
Yeah.
If you have if you have something exposed brick or like an exposed beam or something or whatever that's in the wall and some sheetrock that's broken, that's just kind of accepted when you're younger. But if you're probably above 30, you have to tell the person.
Yeah. If you're over 30 doing this kind of stuff, I think that's a good cutoff line. I mean, look, I don't even there was a time where I had a guy after a late night, he came back to my place and he was on the couch passed out, and I went up to use the bathroom the next morning, and I was like, oh man, he was banged up. And then I went into my bathroom. There's only one bathroom, and the entire curtain, everything just destroyed. I don't know what the hell he did, but he probably got up to go into a bathroom that he wasn't familiar with, didn't navigate it well, and just destroyed my curtain. The whole setup sucked, ripped out from not just the curtain ripped out of the rod. It was a circular rod around some old antique. I mean, it was an old apartment, but I also had a roommate that he didn't know, and I was going to have to deal with my roommate. And the weird thing is, if you did it to me back then, I'd be like, whatever, I'll figure it out, or I'll fix it. Not as well as I should. But I knew this was a problem. So I was like, hey, dude, I'm like, you destroyed my shower. He's like, no, I didn't. I was like, look, I'm going to tell you right now, there are two of us, and I know it wasn't, it's like somebody farting in a cab where you're like, all right, I know who did it no matter what. And he was like, no, I didn't do it. And I was like, you definitely did it. I go, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you right now. You probably don't need the argument, but there are just people that handle it differently. There's also people when you're really young where you can be like, hey, I have a dumpy apartment. You have a dumpy apartment. So you think your dumpy apartment, like you don't really care if something happens, but the other person may be like, no, this is my home. This is where I live. And you're not going to disrespect it. And you're like, hey, I live in the same awful complex you do. So why are you acting like, Home and Gardens is coming over here for a photo shoot in a little while? It's not happening. So back to our guy on this deal. I like the plan. I like the whole deal. And we've probably planted way too many doubts about the email itself. Makes me think that this guy's probably well liked by the group. You had 6 couples come over and hang out with you and your wife. So it sounds like everybody kind of gets along here. But if you're going to go through this whole plan, like we said, you have to be 100% on this, because if there's a chance it didn't happen then and you just didn't realize it and none of these people are guilty, it could be a real game changer for you. There you go. Life advice, rr@gmail.com. We will be back Sunday, Bill and I, even with the holiday. We're not going to miss any pods, so don't worry about it. We'll be good to go. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you.